So I'm going through the 3 games from the Mario 3D collections individually in separate videos before I give my final thoughts on the package as a whole, and we previously covered Mario 64, which brings us to the red-headed stepchild of the Mario series. The one that Nintendo tries to act like it doesn't exist, which is why it hasn't gotten another official release since it originally came out on the GameCube back in 2002. I'm talking, of course, about Super Mario Sunshine. Yes, this game is often panned as being one of the worst games in the Mario series, at least in terms of the 3D ones. Now, again, the game hasn't been made playable outside the GameCube, at least in any legal fashion, okay, you naughty sailors? So there's surely a ton of people who've never played this game before, and with this collection reintroducing it to the mainstream, I want to discuss today if that awful reputation is really justified. Is Sunshine really that bad? One of the things you gotta remember right off the bat, especially for you younger kids, is that players had been well accustomed at this point to having those big core Mario games waiting for them at the launch of Nintendo's consoles. We had Super Mario Bros. On the NES, Mario World on the SNES, Mario 64 on the Nintendo 64. Then it's like the GameCube comes along and we get Luigi's Mansion. Good game, but not at all like a traditional Mario or anything. And I think that actually kind of hurt the reception of Luigi's Mansion because, again, people were expecting like a core Mario at the launch of the system. So they're all sitting here like, oh, what the hell's this? Where's the running and jumping on stuff? So we already had to wait a bit for that big Mario game. And then we got this, and it's like, Mario's getting arrested, and he has to become a janitor and clean up literal shit all over this island. Like, what is happening? So it was in a tough position to begin with when it originally released. And it's just weird in so many ways. Actually, let's get the biggest narrative revelation in this game quickly out of the way.
Leave my mama alone, you bad man. I won't let you take Mama Peach away.
Mama? Mama Peach? I'm your mama?
Yeah, Papa told me all about it.
Now, I'm not going to get into the end of the game spoilers for this title that's almost 2 decades old, but the fact that when this cutscene takes place, that Peach is just confused and doesn't really rebut Bowser Jr.'s claims that she's his mom raises a few questions. Like, for one, how is Peach not aware of whether or not she may have given birth to this deformed turtle child at some point? And for that to even be possible, has Peach and Bowser banged? I mean, these are all important questions about the canon of the Mario games. Again, yeah, this game's so weird, and yes, it revolves around Mario being framed and being tasked with cleaning up the Isle of Delfino. Visually, the environments, enemies, and that really aren't very interesting to me in this game. There's a few good things the game does overall in the design department, but nothing that really blows me away. This is something I'll talk a bit more about later on, but the design feels kind of generic in my opinion for a Mario game. Now, with the version in this collection, you are getting the game in HD finally, in widescreen, which is interesting. I feel like in some ways, obviously you'd want the game in HD, but in some ways it might be a bit of a hindrance to the visuals of this game. I don't know what it is, but the color palette just feels weird. I don't know if it has to do with the way, the game was originally made for fuzzier CRTs, but yeah, it's just, a lot of things just seem off visually. Not really bad or anything, just again, it's just kind of weird. It's a little off. Now, gameplay, as I alluded to, the big twist with this game is the flood, so let's talk about this thing. It's a sort of multi-purpose water pack that helps you in platforming, as well as obviously using it as a hose to clean up the island. Aiming and firing it, I gotta say, I think is atrocious. It didn't control well when it originally released. If anything, it's worse now, I think. To actually free aim the device, you have to lock Mario in place. Always fun in platformers when your movement is restricted. And the arc it has when you're just running around spraying it in front of you always reminds me of like The Rock in the Friday the 13th game on NES. Yeah, your game is great when you're getting compared to Friday the 13th, but yeah, it goes right over the enemies in front of you, so you're always trying to like reposition to get that right distance to hit your targets. It feels more jarring than anything when you got to do this stuff, and not good or fulfilling to do, in my opinion. Just irritating. Now, you do get upgrades for the Flood, including nozzles that give you different attacks and abilities in that, which makes you more efficient and are more fun to use. And there are some fun possibilities with like the movement in that. The way you can spray in front of you and slide around is enjoyable. But the more basic attacks, I guess we'll say, should feel better than they do. Beyond that, platforming in the game I think is pretty decent. I actually like the jetpack functionality with the Flood. I do think it's a fun feeling when you're trying to make it to that next ledge, not knowing if you're going to have quite enough juice to get there, and at what seems to be the very last second, you just make it, or you don't. And you have these areas where you lose access to the Flood device and have to get through the end with more stricter platforming prowess. I actually really like these areas where I don't have to worry about the Flood at all. The problem then becomes, though, especially with platforming, this is a fairly buggy game, just always has been. I've been told there may be some new issues with this version's emulation, but yeah, stuff like collision and that has always been shoddy in this title. I actually get pretty irritated on how like the camera often passes through the environment. You still see like your shadow in that, but it's annoying to deal with. But I do think the game is overall fairly enjoyable to play, but I think a lot of the twists and things they try to do with this game just didn't pan out very well, and that's why it gets panned. Even this game is newer, looks better, the jumping doesn't feel as stiff as, say, Mario 64. I actually enjoy playing Mario 64 and would almost say Mario 64 holds up better than Sunshine. But to be clear, I think it's an okay game, and I think that's the biggest problem with Mario Sunshine, and the way it's remembered, in my opinion, that it's a Mario game, a core Mario title, not a spin-off, a core entry in a series that is known for being some of the best games ever made. I mean, a Mario game comes out and you just expect it to be great, amazing, maybe even mind-blowing. And this game's like, yeah, again, okay, it's maybe even kinda good. In fact, I'd argue that if this game didn't have the Mario name attached to it, and with its gimmicks, the Delfino Island location, it could easily have been some new IP platformer on the GameCube that wasn't a Mario game. And if that was the case, I think it'd be a lot more well-liked. It may even be one of those games on people's, hidden gem lists. But because it's a Mario game, it gets compared to other games in this series. And yeah, I think if you compare it to the other big Mario titles, it does fall extremely short. Anyway, with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on Mario Sunshine in the comments. Did you play this game when it originally released? Or is this your first exposure to it? Did Peach and Bowser get it on? And do you think it deserves all the hate it's gotten over the years? Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this discussion of Mario Sunshine as part of the Mario 3D All-Stars collection. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And if you want to keep the conversation going, hit me up on Twitter at Johnny Zakari and join my Discord, ChiGuy and Friends. Link to both in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching.